For those that don't know, I was elected as a city council member this year, and since taking office, I have had to think about how an organizer shows up in political institutions. The people who supported me have not asked me to become quieter, more agreeable, or less connected to community, but honestly, there has been pressure to change from inside the system. Some of it is direct, but much of it comes through expectations about how an elected official should speak, disagree, and behave. We are encouraged to soften our language, restrain our emotions, avoid visible conflict, and resolve disagreements behind closed doors. All of this is presented as becoming more professional, a reasonable coworker. And I get why the political system values this kind of professionalism. It's a form of career preservation. Anyone who intends to spend decades moving through elected positions, appointments, endorsements, and influential relationships has to consider the cost of openly challenging the people around them. A disagreement may be remembered and come up when you need a yes vote for a policy, a committee assignment, a campaign contribution, an appointment, or support for higher office. There are strong incentives to maintain relationships inside the current system, keep serious disagreements out of public view, and avoid making powerful people uncomfortable. But the public pays the price for that. Political assemblies exist to work through real disagreements, competing interests, and unequal access to power. Conflict is part of that work. A meeting can be calm, pleasant, and deeply ineffective. Of course, we need rules against threats, harassment, discrimination, etc. Those protections still leave room for passion, direct criticism, public disagreement, and challenges to colleagues, administrators, and institutions. We have to stop letting concerns about civility move the conversation away from the substance of what someone said and toward whether they said it in the acceptable way. The article, Reclaiming Civility Towards Discursive Opening in Dialogue and Deliberation, describes how calls for civility can create discursive closure. The conversation ends before anyone addresses the underlying disagreement. People who already hold power are often the ones deciding what counts as appropriate, which gives them another way to dismiss challenges to their authority. Our ideas about the proper appearance, vocabulary, tone, and emotional restraint of public officials came from institutions that historically excluded most people. But we still treat conformity to those expectations as evidence of competence. Sometimes a calm, congenial institution is one in which everyone has learned what they are allowed to say and what speaking honestly could cost them. Incivility is overrated. Adam Serwer examines the political reconciliation that followed Reconstruction. Cordial relationships among powerful white political leaders were restored while Black Americans were abandoned to disenfranchisement and racial terror. Through chasing out the BIPOC people who earned their place at the table, the people left were able to make decisions and find common ground, all while the people affected by those decisions suffered. That history makes me question why our political system places so much value on harmony among decision makers. It also makes me question why organizing and elected office are treated as separate forms of public service. Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal, who organized for immigrant rights before entering office, has said, "While my title has changed, my job as an organizer has not." I have heard more than once that holding elected office is not the same as organizing. I do not agree. We can use the information and access that come with the office to help residents understand how decisions are made. We can bring people into policy development early enough to shape the outcome. We can build public support for ideas that will never move through private persuasion alone. We can stay accountable to the people who sent us into the institution. This is recently often called co-governance, but we know that this is not nothing new. Lobbyists, major donors, corporations, developers, and industry groups already have ongoing relationships with elected officials and help shape policy. Progressive co-governance extends that kind of access to residents, organizers, and community groups. We change who gets welcomed into the governing relationship. I did not enter office to build a lifelong political career. I entered office to help build public power. To my fellow elected officials, yes, there is a political game to play, but we now have a choice. Keep playing it the same way and get the same results, or introduce new rules and bring in new players for new outcomes. It is a choice, and it's one we could make together.